Hi there, Jax here from Shadu Forge. What is the most important tool in a blacksmith shop? It's not the hammer, it's not the anvil, it's the forge itself. Without a way to heat up the metal, you don't have any way of forging anything. Before mankind knew how to make steel, even before iron, before bronze, the very first metal that humans probably figured out how to forge was copper. Humans found these greenish colored rocks in the sides of hills, pulled it out, threw them into a very hot fire, and ended up with this metal, which was relatively soft, easy to shape, even if it didn't get terribly hot. They'd take a hammer stone and a relatively flat rock, and they would hammer the copper and turn it into the tools that they needed, turn it into chisels, turn it into hammers, all that sort of thing. Eventually that led to bronze, then they discovered iron, they figured out steel, high carbon steel, low carbon steel, stainless steel. You can forge all kinds of different steels. So today, I'm going to show you how I put together my own propane forge. And we're going to start with a clip of me unboxing it back when I first received it. You know what to do. I've had this forge for a couple of months. I have not put it together. I ordered it from Diamondback Forges, but it had been sitting in my garage for a couple of months because I hadn't used it. And when I unboxed it to start putting it together and to read the instructions, yes, I'm one of those people that actually reads the instructions of how to put it together, realized one of the first things he says is to coat it with a coat of heat-resistant paint. Didn't think about it. So I took pieces of steel out, and what I found out is the steel was just beginning to get a little bit of surface rust on it. So I had to sand all the pieces down, get rid of the surface rust before I painted. Now, most forges I know get painted black, right? But I'm never someone to do things as normal. So I went with copper because, oh, to be perfectly honest, it was the brightest and most obnoxious color I could get. I have all the pieces of the forge. This is just a small single burner forge because I'm just getting started. The other reason is because I'm setting this up and doing it in my garage. I wanted a propane forge, not a coal forge, because with a coal forge, once you're done using it for the day and you're starting to let it burn down, and it can kick up sparks, and I'm in my garage. I don't really want sparks, you know what I'm saying? I decided on a propane forge, because a propane forge, you can just turn it off, let it cool down. It takes, from what I've heard, 20, maybe 30 minutes to fully cool down, and it's not going to kick off any sparks. Without further ado, I think I'm going to try to adjust the camera slightly to look down. I'm going to start reading the instructions. I'm going to start trying to put my forge together. Okay. Let's lower this camera by just a touch. Oh, there you go. Now you're not going to be able to see me as easily, other than this part of me, the most substantial part of me. But you can see what I'm doing. So, I will explain a little bit. Diamondback Ironworks. I'm hoping that this is going to be front ways around, not backwards like this. Anyway, instruction booklet for gas forge setup and operation. Step 1, high heat paint. I prefer Rust-Oleum high heat flat black. After a little bit of a snafu, I've got all my pieces here. I've got my long nuts that are going to act as the legs. I've got the bolts. I've got everything set up and ready to go. Had a little bit of a snafu, recorded a little bit, had to backtrack a little bit. I may interject some pieces of the stuff I did just in case I forget. Okay, so I put a thin piece of ceramic blanket in the middle of here. You might wonder why, if you've done any research on this sort of thing, why I don't have any kind of breathing protection, or I'm not being very careful about this highly carcinogenic stuff. Well, I placed the question to the guy who makes these forges, and I asked him, do you have any kind of rigidizer? And he gave me reason why he does not include rigidizer on his forges. I looked up the material safety data sheet. There's one thing that I learned when I was in the Navy, is that every material, especially anything that has any sort of industrial use, has a material safety data sheet. And it explains all of the dangers that have been determined and the first aid and what you're supposed to do to take care of yourself if you're exposed to, if you touch it, if you breathe it, blah, 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 blah. And what I found out is that this stuff is, I think, a class 2B carcinogen known in the state of California to cause cancer in humans. But when I did a little more digging into what 2B means, it is actually that it is known in high quantities, aerosolized, to cause cancer in laboratory animals. And because it is guaranteed to cause cancer in laboratory animals, it is assumed to cause cancer in humans. However, only in high concentrations and airborne. Wash your hands after you use it. Honestly, that's all you have to do. So I was just going to do this little prep piece and video be damned, but then I realized this is actually part of the process, so I should probably video it. According to the instructions, I need a piece of cardboard 4.5 inches wide. All right, that's a piece of cardboard 4.5 inches wide. This piece of garbage. What you're now supposed to do, you're supposed to take the forge, according to the instructions, take a piece of 4.5 inch wide cardboard and use it to square up the ceramic blanket with the top. Give it a little whoosh. The reason why is, well, obviously you don't want it hanging down in the middle of your thing, but then he gives you this plug cutter. The whole idea, you got the hole in the top here, right? This is going to cut that out, the sharp edge. What you're supposed to do using the plug cutter, use the cardboard against the forge ceiling so you don't hurt yourself. And then very firmly, you're going to do that. And what you're going to be left with, hopefully, is a plug cutter with some ceramic blanket in it. God, this worked so well. And a perfectly sized hole in your ceramic blanket. Dennis, that was amazing. That worked even better than I thought it was going to. It looks like this ceramic blanket was absolutely made this way. Here, we have a fully assembled forge. All right, so I started doing a bit more with this and I realized that it's part of the process and I should probably show you guys. So what I've got here is the cart that I put together, and I put some bricks that we had left over from making our mailbox actually. And I went to the hardware store and I picked up some fire brick. Again, these are different from regular brick because they are designed to be insulating. They're designed to insulate against heat, pretty significantly high heat. This one has a 2000 degree tolerance, which, yeah, pretty sure my forge is not going to get up to 2000 degrees. That's a bit excessive for something that small. Here's my plan. I got the forge, and on it, I have connected the regulator hose. My idea being that my forge is going to sit here on the fire bricks. I've got the hose. Down underneath here, or somewhere around here, I have propane tank. Yes, exactly the same kind of propane tank that you use for your grill. And then the regulator hose here is going to be connected to the tank. Suppose I could give it a try. Plastic bit off the end. Bring it down, and can it connect? It appears to be connecting correctly to the inside threads of this thing. The regulator here is set for anywhere from 0 to 30 psi. I'm not going to fire the forge up here, sitting as it is on cardboard, right next to this box. I'm going to roll it out further. My idea, though, is that this tank can sit underneath the cart on the bottom, and that makes this whole thing mobile. So I can roll out my forge, and I can roll out the tank, get it out where I need it to be, pull the tank out from underneath it so it's not directly below it, it's out a little bit to one side. The hose on the regulator, I would say, is probably, I don't know, 5, maybe 6 feet long, probably more like 5. I've seen some guys that are a little more paranoid about it and they make that hose a little bit longer. I think it's going to be okay though, because it's a simple one burner forge. It's not kicking off that much heat, but very soon, I shall fire that up and we will make things hot, and I will attempt to make some steel hot and then bend it to my will. Because that's what blacksmiths do.
Just there we go.
It's supposed to be like that sound.
I don't know why it's making that sound. Sound's not right. Flow isn't right. There we go.
Fire.
That.
Ah. What's the deal?
It didn't have an open far enough. It wasn't blowing out with enough force. That is a furnace blowing at very high temperatures.
It's blue.
Just for funsies. I'm gonna use. Gotta use this one.
It's safe.
What?
It's safe.
What's it? Yeah, it's safe.
How much propane? You're gonna run out of propane though, huh?
Oh, hopefully this will run for quite a few hours.